Hello, everybody. Today we will be talking about the necklace. We will be discussing some parts of the story and we will analyze, of course, analyze the story and figure out what lessons we can get out of the story. And this story is written by Guy Lamaupassant, which we will also be talking about. So let's start. So, our writer, he is a famous French writer. He was a famous French writer from the 1800s. He's best known for his short stories, which are famous for their clear style and surprise endings. His most famous story, The Necklace, shows how a single mistake can ruin a person's life. Maupassant learned to write from another great author, Gustave Flaubert. He wrote about ordinary people and everyday life, but his stories often revealed hidden truths about human nature. Though he died young, his simple but powerful stories remain popular around the world. To add to this information, he was also exposed to an illness, I believe, is called syphilis, and this sickness caused both mental and physical problems. And because of this illness-imposed madness he was located into an asylum, which he died a year later. So rest in peace. This part of the story is, I think, my favorite part of the story. It really talks a lot about who actually Madame Loisel is, what are her characteristics, her psychology. It just explains it perfectly, I believe. She suffered endlessly, feeling herself born for every delicacy and luxury. She suffered from the poorness of her house, from its mean walls, worn chairs, and ugly curtains. All these things of which other women of her class would not even have been aware, tormented and insulted her. The sight of the little bread girl who came to do the work in her little house aroused heartbroken regrets and hopeless dreams in her mind. Yes, psychology of Madame Loisel. We will be going to analyze her psychology a bit. So basically, let's make a quick recap of the story. What happened? Madame Loisel is a wife to a little clerk working in the Ministry of Education, whose name is Mansour Loisel, and she is basically not content with her life at all. She thinks herself as worthy of being with the elite class. She thinks basically, she's described as a gorgeous woman for her time, which takes place in the late 19th century, France, Paris. And basically, yeah, she's not content with her life. She just wants to feel desired and uh, admired by elite men. And yeah, she's not really happy with her life. As we can see from these texts, she imagined delicate food served in marvelous dishes, murmured gallantries, listened to with an inscrutable smile as one trifled with the rosy flesh of trout or wings of asparagus chicken. She does not really want those kind of basic food with broths in it, with those kind of villager stuff, as she considers it in her psychology. She wants to have dinners in a castle-like environment with these murmured gallantries and feeling herself born for every delicacy and luxury. She thinks she's worthy of these things. She is prideful and pretentious. She doesn't want to be in this poor environment that she is in. She feels mocked. She feels, well, blundered by the fate, as it says in the text in the starting of the story. She's like she has been blundered by the fate himself. And this part is when they get the invitation and they go after taking a fancy dress, buying a fancy dress with the money of her husband. They go to this gathering, which was organized by the Ministry of Education with a lot of elite men in there present. She danced madly in a cloud of happiness made up of this universal homage and admiration, of the desire she had aroused, of the completeness of a victory so dear to her feminine heart. So basically, she feels in the right place. She thinks she should belong here. She belongs here, and this is where she should be for the entirety of her life. This kind of environment, she craves for it. And we have her husband, Monsieur Loisel. We'll also let's analyze what Monsieur Loisel is thinking in his mind and his psychology, his contentment with the life he has. Her husband, who took the cover off the soup tureen, this is when they're having dinner, obviously, exclaiming delightedly, "Ah, Scotch broth! What could be better?" Well, we see a pretty happy man eating his Scotch broth. But while he's doing this, she she's real spiteful. She's really spiteful and degraded in her mind. Like, what kind of a villager environment is this? I do not belong here. I'm an elite modern woman. I should be with those people in my level. And this is when Miss Madame Loisel is trying to persuade Monsieur Loisel into buying a fancy dress for this gathering. She looked at him out of furious eyes and said impatiently, "And what do you suppose I am to wear at such an affair?" He had not thought about it. He stammered, "Why, the dress you go to the theatre in. It looks very nice to me." So we can actually understand from this part of the story that these two people live in complete different universes. One is simple and basic and content with his life, and one craves for the elite and luxurious life. These two people are complete opposites, and they're trying to, well, at the end of the day, a grievous harm will come to both of them because of this detrimental match that they made in some part of their life as husband and wife. I don't know exactly, but I think I could do it on 400 francs. He grew slightly pale, for this was exactly the amount he had been saving for a gun, intending to get a little shooting next summer on the plain of Nanterre with some friends who went lark shooting there on Sundays. Nevertheless, he said, "Very well, I'll give you 400 francs, but try and get a really nice dress for the money." We can actually see a pretty good husband model from here because 400 francs he's been saving to buy a gun, which he will be visiting a plane, which is named Nanterre with some friends. So some hunting is going on, we can see, but he sacrificed his money, his saving, for his wife, to get a fancy, good-looking dress so she can look nice in the gathering. So we can actually come into conclusion and agree on that this is a pretty good husband. And let's talk about the rest of the story a bit. They go to this gathering, which Madame Loisel has this fancy dress she bought for 400 francs. Well, let's not say very fancy and luxurious, but good enough to wear it to such a gathering. And she also borrowed a necklace from her neighbor, whose name is Madame Frostia, a diamond necklace, which is the basically the name of our story. And she's dancing and having the fun of her life, basically. And later on, after the party is finished nearly, everyone is just putting on their extravagant coats to wear in such a cold, bleak day, night, let's say, which she does not have, and she's just trying to evade people and rush to the outside so no one would see her not wearing a extravagant fur. And what happens is, while this is happening, she loses the necklace, which they believe is very expensive because they visit some jewelry stores and they say like the price is approximately 40,000 and 30,000. They're looking for the identical identical necklace that looks like the necklace she lost. And they find some. They actually find one. I'm sorry, which turns out to be 40,000 francs. And in order to make this compensation to Madame Frostier, um, They get into a whole lot of debt. They lose their current house. They move into a worse place, which is in ruins. And we can actually see the irony coming up here. And yeah, at the end of the day, we have two lessons we can take from here. Vanity brings calamity. Our vanities, pride, being prideful, pretentious, actually drags us instead of ascending us into a better life. She was a decent woman living a decent life, basically. Not that poor, not that rich, just a basic medium life, a middle class life. But with her pride, unfortunately, uh, she became what she despised, what she was spiteful of. Madame Loisel looked old now. She had become like all the other strong, hard, coarse women of poor households. Her hair was badly done, her skirts were awry, her hands were red. She despised those kind of women. She was feeling as the most beautiful woman in the world who deserves to be admired, desired, and complimented by elite men. But now there's no trace of that woman left. And we have a second lesson here, which is curse of the wrong partner that comes up with being with the wrong people, being with these kind of prideful, spiteful people drags us to, sadly. What she did resulted in her husband's downfall too. He gave notes of hand, entered into ruinous agreements to pay for this necklace, 40,000 francs, that is, did business with usurers and the whole tribe of money lenders. And just like that, he lost his position in the Ministry of Education, and they both went downhill completely because of Mathilde's behavior and her psychology, her sadly negative characteristics. So this is the two kind of lessons we can take from the story. So while we were reading this story and in the class, we came into the plot twist. Oh, okay. Well, most of us was surprised, but I mostly was mad, and yeah, I was angry and mad to be honest, because of how Monsieur Loisel also got punished for his wife's mistakes. That is really messed up, I would say, because this is a really, really good lesson, in my opinion, that tells us, that warns us of these kind of people like Mathilde. If we become friends, if we become partners, if we become close with these kind of people, they will drag us too. And that is the end of the story. I thank you for listening. I try to make it as short as possible, and I will, because, well, I'm trying to fit it under 10 minutes. I will see you all in the next assignment. Peace out.